to A Well-Designed Business. My name is LuAnn, and I'm so glad you found this podcast. Together with my husband Vince and our partner Bill, we have grown our company WindowWorks from the ground up. So I know and I understand the challenges you face in running your interior design business. I also know that your talent alone isn't enough to ensure your success. So on this podcast, we talk about strategies and practical steps to help you grow your business. But make no mistake about it, we have our share of fun here too, mixed in with those aha moments that I love so much. This isn't fluff. Nobody has time for that. Whether you are a new interior designer or a seasoned designer, I am here to help you create and to manage the kind of interior design firm that you dream of. It's straight talk and it's action. Are you ready? Let's get started. Hi, welcome to A Well-Designed Business. It's WTF Window Treatment Friday. Hi, Vita. How are you?
Hey, LuAnn. I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm great. And it feels like a while. It feels like a minute since we've had an episode here.
It's been one long Groundhog Day between, the various crises that we are currently living through. It may think that it's been a minute, and at the same time, sometimes it feels like it's been a year or longer. So
yes,
whichever stance you want to take on it.
Yes, it's true. You know what's one thing that I've noticed with the whole stay at home and sheltering in place and COVID thing is that things that you would say to yourself, oh, that was probably, when's the last time that was probably a month ago. And then you're like, no, actually, you've been in the house for 12 weeks, so it actually has to be more than a month ago. Like, it's bizarre, like certain little non-consequential things that now I find myself marking them by how long I've been in quarantine. It's bizarre.
We used to mark things by how old our children are, right? And now it's going to be quarantine weeks.
Exactly. And then I do silly things like it was pouring rain over the weekend. And normally, I've got my whole schedule on the weekends. I'm going to do editing in the morning, and I'm going to do recordings, for the intro, outro in the afternoons, and I'm going to do some writing in the middle, and blah, 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 blah.
Oh, my gosh. That's like a regular weekend for you.
Oh, yeah. That's like,
Ladies and gentlemen, the hardest worker podcaster in the world.
Well, I always say Sunday is no different than Wednesday. It's just you know what I mean? But anyway, so What was so funny is I came downstairs to get something to eat. It was about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was like, all right, it's time to put some food in the engine here. And I opened up the cabinet, and I looked, and it was torrential summer storming, like pouring rain.
Yeah.
And my first thought was, oh, you should just blow off work and you guys should go to a movie. Because in my mind, like a lot of times in the summer, you go to a movie on a rainy day. And I turned around, I'm like, but you can't go to a movie, LuAnn. Just go back upstairs and work.
Oh, but there's always Netflix or
there's
Hulu
no way.
or
I could
Prime.
never sit in the middle of the day and watch TV knowing I had work to do. Not a chance.
I completely understand. I hardly ever give myself permission to do that.
I couldn't even enjoy it.
I couldn't even enjoy it.
No. But, an event, me and Vin, let's go out and, have popcorn and the whole thing, that would be different. That would be like playing hooky, and that would be like, this is fun, But sitting in my own living room. Yeah. Sitting in my own living room, be like, you lazy bum, get to work.
You are setting the bar so high for all of us, LuAnn. You are.
Gosh. Well, you know what? I love what I'm doing, so it really doesn't feel like work. That's the part. Yeah. So anyway, and I love our WTF episodes, and I'm going to tell you who else I love. I love our sponsor, Mydoma Studio. I love them too. And I just want to take a minute to thank Mydoma Studio and to make sure that if you haven't gone to mydomastudio.com/a well-designed business yet, then you need to do it because, one of the things is that when you do love what you do and you do have a lot of work to do, efficiencies matter. And of course, we're on the line today with the efficiency queen, Vita. But if you're like me and not necessarily an efficiency queen, then tools like Mydoma Studio are the answer. Mydoma Studio is the place where you can keep your projects organized. You want to look for that communication from a vendor. You want to look to see if a client has approved something. You want to look to see, if you have created the mood board for somebody yet. You want to see if somebody's bought the package that you've put out. You don't have to spin your wheels in Gmail hell. You you can go right to My Doma Studio and see if all these things have been done. So I encourage you to try mydomastudio.com/a-well-designed-business today. All right, Vita, we're going to talk about awnings today. Let's talk about awnings. Tell me about your little revelation with awnings.
Well, I shall. So it all kind of started when COVID-19 hit, or at least hit in terms of everything being closed down and us sheltering in place. And if I were to send all of us back about 3 months ago, I think it was middle of March, beginning of April, and we were all sort of scrambling. We didn't know exactly how it was all going to go and how we're going to do virtual consultations. And I find that during the time of uncertainty and during the time of stress, we tend to kind of default to what's comfortable for us. And for some people, it may have been design work, and they were doubling down on creating the most beautiful mood boards for their customers. And perhaps for others, it was doubling down on education or systems and processes. And I certainly did some of that too. But LuAnn, I think you wouldn't be surprised to hear that my default state is business strategy and marketing and business development. And so, I mean, it has always been my forte, if you will, and especially marketing. I mean, it's been my undergraduate concentration, and that's what I went to work for corporate in. And of course, I started my own business with just grassroots bootstrap type of marketing. And so my default became during those first times of uncertainty is how do I develop business? How do I market my business during these times? What do I need to do? How do I pivot? How do I strategically think about the business in a maybe slightly different way? What do I do? So my brain wheels were spinning and turning endlessly. And what I started thinking about and gravitating towards is the mission for my company. So Vitalia Inc. Window Treatments is the measurement, fabrication, installation, and project management company for interior designers. And we do that in terms of window treatments and related projects. However, the main crux of our business is to be of value to interior designers, to be the go-to one-stop shop resource for them. It's about making their lives easier. It's about making their lives simpler. It's about being a resource for them. It's about taking stress off of their shoulders and putting it onto our shoulders in terms of all things window treatments and related projects. So when I started to think of my business that way, or not, I mean, I've always thought of it, but really kind of concentrated on it more and more, it kind of became clear that it's not just about window treatments, it's about being that solution for my target client. At the same time, I got 2 inquiries about awnings in 1 week. And I was like,
thank you, universe, for that synchronicity. Yay!
And at the same time, of course, you know, I think of you and Vin and WindowWorks, and you guys are such role models. I mean, you run a window treatment business, which is very similar to mine, but 3-4 times higher than mine. And you guys have been doing awnings for a long time, and I know that you have been advocating awnings. So between 3 of those things, the inquiries, the mission for my company, and not being in window treatments, but being the resource, the one-stop resource for my target market, and looking at you guys, it just became a no-brainer that we needed to enter the awnings business.
Right. Well, because you know what, it's, you know, the broad mission. Forget the personal mission and all of that, but the broad mission is to provide shade and privacy control at the window, shade control and privacy control at the window. So awnings do that. It's not outside of what a window treatment professional can think about doing or should, you know, can add to their bag of tricks. And it's only natural that a consumer or a designer client that comes to you for window treatments, the next step is, oh, right, I want shade from outside. How can I do it? So it's exterior shades, exterior hurricane shutters, and exterior awnings, right?
And interestingly, it's not like I've never considered awnings before. I have, because you guys are doing them. I know some other people are doing them because it kind of makes sense, like you were saying. It's the shading at the window. But my God, we've been so busy. All of us.
Yes.
All of us have been so busy, especially 2018, 2019. I mean, those have been just, they're just being bang up years for, I think, all of us in our industry. And I mean, who has the time to stop and think about how else can I increase my business when you can hardly support what you already have? And so we all know that there have been many, many silver linings to this quarantine. And this being one of them, that it gave me in particularly, and I'm thinking probably to a lot of other people too, the opportunity during this slowdown to think about what are some strategic add-ons, what are some strategic upsells and cross-sells that we can do to an existing customer already. At the same time, to be of service to them, which is what ultimately what our mission is.
Exactly. I love it. I mean, like I said, we opened in 82, I want to say. Maybe Vinny would know it, but I mean, by 83, 84, right at the beginning, we were selling awnings. I mean, I can't even imagine we were past 84, 83, 84 till we did awnings. And what's funny is I remember when we started selling awnings because I'll never forget the sales rep that came in. His name was John Dolan, and he worked for, I don't know if he worked for KE Outdoor, the company that we use predominantly now, or if he was from a different company then, Vinny would know. But the point is, I do think he was. The company was called Durasol then. I remember the guy coming in. I can remember the guy coming in. He came into the showroom, and he was like that typical guy doing the cold salesman thing. Hey, I've got awnings to sell. Do you want them? And I remember thinking, no.
We've got enough, buddy.
Right? And Vinny's saying, well, what do you mean? Tell me about it. And I really remember looking at him like, what are we going to sell awnings for? And I just went about my life and went to my next sales appointment and didn't give it a thought. And he says, I like this guy, John. He's got a nice product. He goes, and I remember thinking, you're nuts. Why don't we just sell cars too? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what are we doing here? But, as very often, the Vin man knows exactly what he's doing. And he started to sell awnings. And very quickly, it became a significant revenue stream for our business to the point that it is about 50% of our business at this point. Hitting the 3 million mark and 1.5 represents an awnings. And of course, what I know is, and part of this discussion is that there is money to be made in this product category. And somebody like yourself, as the window treatment professional who services interior designers, definitely needs to add it to their product mix to, as you said, be of service to your designers. But, we've been trying to tell the designers that come to Window Works, don't leave this money on the table. People are buying awnings every day. You can be the one to sell it to them, just like you sold them their window treatments, because we're here to help and support you in it. So I was so excited when you reached out and you're like, what do you think about me selling awnings? I'm like, I think it's amazing.
No. Let me correct the record. Okay. You're like, duh. No, not quite that, but you were excited for me with the look off. The outside voice, the yay, Vita, go. The inside voice, duh.
Welcome to the party.
It took you so long, but okay, so you're finally here.
Oh, no. But I love the reasons that you came to it because, of course, I have to say, it has been the awning side of our business that is racking numbers up during COVID. I mean, we are breaking records. Now, April was, crazy pants and very disheartening. Yeah. There's no question.
For everybody. So that's kind of like a...
Yeah, but May kicked butt. And June is, at this point of recording, projecting to be at least 40% above our regular June. And the thing is, it's almost all awnings. It's almost all exterior projects. And why is that? Because it's the same realization that you came to in your business strategy, that you do, and your strategic thinking and all of that. You're like, what can I sell in COVID that my designers need? And we all know that people are staying home this summer and they're sitting out at their patios and their decks, and they're thinking, I know, because we've been having them say to us on the telephone, every year I think that I should get an awning, but by the time I go to work Monday through Friday, and then we spend one day running to the beach on Saturday, another day with family, it's only a handful of the days during the summer that I really sit here in this backyard and think, we need an awning. But they're saying, but I'm actually working outside on my patio now. I'm working remotely and I need an awning. And so we have been selling them like gangbusters. So I'm glad that you came to it. Yes.
Yeah. And I think another reason that people are coming to realization, or finally to the point where pulling the plug, if you will, and ordering one, is none of us are traveling very far this summer.
Yes.
So it's, we've always wanted to have those beautiful backyards and turning them into oasis. And 2020 is the year that we actually are turning them into those beautiful places where we're going to quote unquote vacation, staycation. So that's another reason.
It's the truth. And what we're noticing with the clients that we're working with, both direct to consumer and designer clients with the awnings, is it's running the gamut. It is at the very entry level of, I simply need a retractable awning on my regular, everyday, middle class, backyard, cement slab patio, so that I can sit out here with a baby pool and my children, and my husband and I can have our hot dogs and hamburgers at the thing. So there's that entry level that's just flying off the shelves, but then all the way to, like you said, the top 10, 15% of the demographic income of our clients that are saying, well, I'm not going to spend 10 grand going to Europe this summer. So, and I know you probably have the same clients, but that top 10, 15% of those high earning net wealth individuals that are our clients here in our area, it's not just 10 grand to Europe. That's 10 grand to Europe with the husband. And then there's 15 or 20 grand for the shore rental house with the entire extended family. And then, we're going to do a little girls getaway to Texas with the girls. I mean, these clients are spending $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 a year over a 15-week period, say from May till October, on vacationing. Right? I mean, don't you find the same? And
definitely.
Yes. And so now it's, I'm going to have my kids and my grandchildren over to the house almost every weekend, or we're not going to go away and we're going to do all of this, and let's really blow it up. A friend of ours owns a pool company, and he was just telling us last week he's doing more pools this summer than he's done, at this to date than the last 2 or 3 summers combined.
And you know what? I can verify, because in my development alone, and we live 45 minutes outside of Philadelphia in a very standard suburban type of development, and a lot of people already have pools, but those who don't, and maybe we have, 60 houses, say, we have at least 2 or 3 new pool projects started last week.
Right. And as soon as that pool goes in, they're going to need an awning, because you can't sit out there from morning till the end of the day.
Oh my God, you just gave me an idea. I think I need to go and knock on their door.
Exactly.
I will.
Yes. This is the truth. If you're going to spend your days outside, even if you're a sunbather and you love it, you might have children that you don't want picking up the UV for 8. So they're going to be in the pool for 3 hours, and you're going to lather them up every whatever. But when they come in to sit and have lunch, when they, going to play a little board game or watch, do whatever they do on their iPads, you want that break to be in the shade. Right.
And, speaking of children, we all know these poor kids, they've been cooped up in our houses for the last 3 months. There's been that loosely used term of homeschooling. and we all are, partially victimized, partially traumatized by the whole experience. We can't wait for the school to be over for us here in PA. This is the last week. And but I think a lot of parents would agree with me that, well, our children children are eating us out of the house. And number two, to get them outside is like, oh my God, I'm like ready to stick pencils in my eyes to get these kids outside. And so if I can provide a safe from the UV rays ways for them to hang outside and to read a book or to play a game or to just hang out and, chit chat with their friends, I'm going to do that. As a mom, as a parent, I will absolutely want to do that. Exactly. So it's good for us to work in, quote unquote, from home. It's good for socializing. It's good for the whole staycation kind of thing. It's good for the kids. And I mean, not to be overlooked, but, there's definitely energy cost savings there too.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question. And what I love is you should, if you have a retractable awning, you really shouldn't leave the house. Not that you can right now, but you shouldn't leave the house with the awning out, even on the nicest of summer days, because a good strong gust of wind could just swoop that thing up, twist it just the wrong way and break the arm, and then boom. This is not an inexpensive thing. But when you are home, it is nice sometimes if the awning is over the whole back of your house and maybe it encompasses your kitchen window and your sliding glass door and possibly your family room picture window. To have that awning out, even when you're in the house, is protecting the house from the sun and the heat. And you can have a wind sensor on your awning so that even if you're, in the laundry room, or maybe you did run out front and you got started talking with a neighbor, if that wind starts to, go a little bit too much, it'll pull that awning back in for you when, you don't want to rely on it. I am literally, here's the small print. You do not want to rely on it and go away from your house for hours. Okay. But in an emergency, when you're just distracted, this, that, or the other thing, the wind sensor will pull it in so that you can leave it out, to your point, to get the increased energy savings for the interior of the house, even if you're not outside. So
that's right.
Yes,
that's right.
I love it. And then, of course, there are all different types of awnings, right, Vita? So now we have, like I just mentioned, your basic retractable awning, which can go anywhere from, 6, 7, 8 feet wide to 5, 6, 7 feet out, up to 25, 30, 40 feet wide, up to 10, 12, 13 feet out. And
that's a big area to cover. I mean, no umbrella, no freestanding umbrella can possibly give you that kind of shading.
No. And then the other thing is so you have that retractable, but then when you mention umbrella, what's the game with the umbrella? We're all moving around the table trying to fit in the one triangle that has shade, right?
So true. I mean, just, don't have to go very far. 2 days ago on Sunday, we were over at some friends, and we're all literally moving around the table trying to catch that shade while eating our burgers.
Exactly. And so with the retractable awning, there's things that we can do. We can add drop screens to the fronts and the sides of it so that, yes, there's a certain point where that west sun, it's not coming at the top anymore. So the awning that is laterally out is not going to block that sun. It's coming at you sideways. But, when you do a custom, sturdy, top of the line awning, we can attach a drop screen, a solar screen to that. So now, right into the head bar of that awning, you hit the button and the screen comes down, and now you are blocking that sideways western sun.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's like 2 awnings in one, sounds like.
Yes. It's like, you have a shade attached to an awning. And it's so funny because Kim just said to me yesterday a line that I thought was so descriptive. She said, I had a friend of mine that I don't talk to so often, but she knows that I'm in the industry, and she texted me over the weekend and she said, hey, I know your company does awnings. We're thinking about doing awnings. Same thing. We're home every day now, and we're planning to be for the summer. And we've always thought about doing it. And she said, before I have your company come out and get you all involved, I saw an awning. Oh, I know what it was. She texted her sister, and her sister said, this is what my friend said. What do you want me to say? She said, before I have your sister's company come out and everything else, she said, I saw an awning on Wayfair. Before I waste her time, is it comparable? Like, this is what the price is on a Wayfair. And Kim said to her sister, Ash, I don't know how you're going to explain it to her diplomatically, but here's what you need to tell her. The awning on Wayfair is like getting shoes at Walmart as opposed to getting them at Bloomingdale's. Like,
I love it.
Stop.
And if I were to parallel it over to the window treatment world, it would be like getting window treatments from a Marshall's or any
or
kind
Home
of
Depot
off-the-shelf
or
type
Bed
of
and Bath,
thing.
right,
Or getting custom-made stuff.
Yeah. So that's the thing. We are not talking about the very, very crazy, and like if an awning is $700, it's not real. It's not real. It's you know, it's the plastic shoes from Walmart is what it is. So,
so what are the investment levels, LuAnn, that you think our listeners should know about?
Well, this is the thing. So when we talk about an entry-level retractable that's quality and well-made, of course it has different bells and whistles. It can have a cassette because that protects the awning all winter. It reduces the ability for birds to make nests in awnings because there's a fun thing that birds like to do. So there's all different bells and whistles. But, you know, you think about your standard awning. I'm not even going to base it. Here's how you love this for a custom person. You know, there is no such thing, and I'm not going to give. It's figure you're gonna spend $3,500 to $5,500 just to say hello to an awning. Right? Just to say hello, how you doing today, awning.
So your entry-level price point is, we'll say, average about $4,000.
Yeah, you know, and the thing is, what bells and whistles do you need? Does that mean that entry-level awning now becomes $5,500, but can you get something for $4,000 depending on the size and the bells and whistles? Absolutely. But here's the thing. You know, we did a series of I think 2 or 3 awning structures at 2 or 3 hotels in Manhattan last year, and each project was over $150K. So, you know, it goes the whole gamut, and we can do anything from a retractable with, you know, like I said, cassette, 2-arm, 3-arm awnings, drop-down screens, lighting, you know, speakers.
The size, of course, matters.
Exactly. The size matters. All of that matters. But, and then you have the whole series of the Genius awning that is so amazing because this is one of the very, very few, probably less than 2 or 3 awnings even available in the world that is both retractable and will withstand rain.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
And wind, or wind is definitely
wind as well. Yes. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So this is an amazing, you know, engineering invention, quite frankly. And these are what we sell to the big hotels and the wedding event planning places and stuff like that. Because, you know, these 2 particular hotels that we have in Manhattan, one in Brooklyn, one in Manhattan that we've done, the Wythe Hotel and Four Hands or Free Hands, whatever one is not the furniture company.
Free Hands would be it.
So the furniture company is Four Hands, so the hotel must be Free Hands.
I think so.
I say it backwards every time. But
only because we went to their party at
see,
the fall.
And half the time Kim and I'm like, oh, we're going to the Free Hand party? She's like, no, LuAnn, that's the hotel project we did in Brooklyn. I'm like, okay. But anyway, so previously, each of these big hotels would have somebody come in and want to plan in the spring or the summer a wedding or a bar mitzvah or any event, and if they wanted to use their outdoor spaces, the hotels always have to keep the indoor space as a backup in case it rains. Now, with our Genius awnings, they can sell both spaces. They don't have to worry. If it pours rain on that bride, they can still have her in the outdoor designated space that was her choice, and they've sold the room inside. So it just absolutely, you know, quadruples the money that they can earn over the course of a whole summer, spring, fall season for outdoor entertaining. And it's the same with you if you are doing this for your home. The entry level for a Genius in personal use and more normal size conditions that you would run into is about 15 to 20 grand. And of course, we have projects residentially that go anywhere from 15 to probably 60, because again, the Genius can have heaters installed, it can have music installed, it can have lighting installed, it can have drop screens installed. It's an amazing product. But for interior designers that have opportunities with restaurant design and boutique hotel design and clients with this, you know, higher demographic and this higher net wealth, this is a tremendously easy product for you to call somebody like myself or Vita in and have us take the wheel, here, take the wheel, right, but just feed that money right back through your business. So.
And really, I think what it comes down to is just awareness that a resource like that exists, and also awareness that we can do something about the space. Because so often we just concentrate on what we're doing, what we have been doing, and that's the only thing we know how to do going forward. And be that COVID, shelter in place, or whatever it may be, but there needs to be some sort of wake-up call for us all, and designers included, to say, okay, I know how to design the space, I know how to do how to decorate it, I know how to redesign it, but what about the outside? And chances are they're working on the outside spaces anyway. There's furniture outside, there's pillows and cushions outside, there's other decorative elements outside, but I'm wondering how often the designers think about providing shading outside.
That's the truth, because we both know that we work with designers who are essentially designing the outdoor space with the outdoor kitchens and, all outdoor rooms and all of that. And then what happens is they'll often know, maybe subconsciously, maybe consciously, that the client needs that other element, but they don't know that that could be part of their wheelhouse, and they don't have to sub that out, or they don't have to let the client go on their own and deal with that, because that's what happens with us. We are called in so often on projects that are run by landscape architects or run by architects or run by interior designers, and I'm talking about exterior projects, and the homeowner is calling Window Works directly and not including whoever they've hired as their consigliere for the project. They're just like, well, it's time to do the awning, so I just do that on my own, as if it's time to, I don't know, get the chemicals for the pool. I don't need the designer for that. And it's like, well, it would be great if you had the professional expertise that's been guiding you through the whole project so far to put their 2 cents in and help you with the style and the possibilities. You know what I'm saying?
And the fabric and the size and all the same things that the designers are so great at on the interior as well as exterior too. But now it's just having that additional notch of awareness to say that the awning can be part of that outside scope of design that they're working on anyway, like I said.
Exactly. And then the other things that we do, which is popular, is very often a landscape architect will design into an exterior backyard place a pergola. Because it looks beautiful, right? It's like the wood, it's a wood structure, and it's got the horizontal wood slats at the ceiling. And, technically those wood slats are supposed to give you some
really work? I've always wondered.
Well, if you're full on umbrella, you're not finding shade. I'm not sure how an open roof slatted ceiling is going to do it. But, there are places where maybe you have a lot of tree coverage and it just gives you a little ambient feeling. But if you have full on sun, that pergola open slatted roof is not going to give you any real measure of sun control. But we can put a retractable awning on that flat structure so that, we mount it at one end, it, slides horizontally straight down that thing, ends at the other end, and you can have it closed when you're out there eating with your family and your company, and it's hot and the sun is directed, or if it starting to be that dusk or it's the early morning hours and you want the full exposure of the sky. So that's another really popular thing, because people do tend to go with the pergola because it looks beautiful. It's not necessarily nearly as expensive as making a true full-on room structure, and it has a lot of ambiance and charm to it, but then you get it and you're like, actually still very hot here and I need my
functionality.
sunscreen.
Functionality, not so much.
Exactly. And then the other thing that we do a lot of is permanent canopies and awnings. And so these are not retractable. So we have these a lot at I'm trying to think what you call them, like apartment building complexes and like high-end apartment building complexes or nursing home facilities or healthcare facilities or rehab facilities where there is a dedicated space for the residents or the patients to go out. And I'm talking huge. I'm talking about, 60, 70 feet wide by 30, 40, 50 feet deep. And they can also be, any size, smaller than that or whatever. But you know what it is. It's a metal structure that in the spring, the canopy awning gets attached to it tight. And then in the fall, it comes down. And it's a place for everyone to just go and gather and sit under, but whether it's rain or sun, and you're under shade, but it doesn't retract. It's like creating a tent almost, but not a blow-away tent.
It's permanently there. It doesn't go anywhere unless it's like beginning of the season or the end of the season. Other than that, it's permanently there, usually done over a large area. Right.
And the frame stays all year long, but we come in as a service. We will put their cover on and take their cover off every spring and every fall. And so that's also a popular awning. And then the other type of awning too is commercial awnings. When you're working with any type of business, if you're working with a doctor's office, you're working with a nail salon, a beauty salon, a restaurant, the curb appeal. It's all about the curb appeal, right?
Yeah.
It's to make somebody walk by, drive by, and think, I'd like to go there. And how often is that charm created with some interesting awning, right?
Very, very often. I mean, as a matter of fact, a lot of times when I kind of go into either a restaurant or any kind of business and they have nicely maintained, beautifully done awning with their name or logo or some kind of branding, I mean, it definitely adds that additional it factor to it, and you feel good about going into that establishment. You feel good about going and knowing that you are going to, it's like you haven't gotten the service yet.
Yes.
but the anticipation and the promise of the service is there because you've been greeted properly at the door by not a human being necessarily, by that permanent or semi-permanent fixture that communicates the brand message.
Exactly. And the thing what I have found, this is one, I don't do the awning sales in our company, but in observation all these years, I have noticed that the few times that a designer has been involved with the selection of a commercial awning for an establishment like that, it is always a much more creatively designed awning. So the regular store owner, whatever type of business he or she runs, is much less likely to say, I'll have a pink awning, please, with white and yellow stripes, right? Or put this sort of logo or something on it. And of course, we're also in that same boat. We're sitting here and maybe we're going to offer something creative, but the reality is that it's a good amount of money to purchase an awning. And if you push a homeowner or a business owner out of their budget, not out of their budget, out of their comfort zone on style and, you don't just take it back and start over again so easy. You know what I'm saying? So I love, the times when the pictures come back and I see something really colorful or just like you said, really defines the person's message. Like Nicole Heimer teaches, define your brand.
I know.
Right?
I felt like Nicole when I was saying that.
Yes, right? It's what happens is I will comment. I'll say, wow, did you think of that? Whoever I'm talking to, Vinny, Richard, JC. Yeah. And they'll be like, well, the designer suggested. I'm like, okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, similar to the inside space too. I mean, we all know that as soon as the designer is involved in any kind of interior space, even if an architect is involved, even if a general contractor is involved, but as soon as that designer has his or her magic touch, everything becomes so much better.
Yeah. I know. It just is. There is. And the thing is, it's just like inside. You just said it. It's the exact same thing. There are times when a designer is giving me their specifications on the fabric for the drapery, and I'm sitting there looking at the rest of the fabrics for the sofa and the rug and everything else, and I think, really? And then you look at it when it's done, and you're like, yes, really? Like, you don't have that DNA gene, LuAnn. They have it.
Right. They're in that creative space. They are in that visionary space. I mean, you and I come in, and by you and I mean like our companies, and we help with product knowledge. We help with engineering. We help with guiding people in the right direction in terms of how and when and what. But the actual design and the vision, if the designer is involved, I mean, is just magic.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question about it.
Yeah. I mean, what I know is that I'm a creative being. I know that I have skill and talent in doing this, but there is some, and it's usually a talented designer that just has that extra vision, that extra look, and the confidence because they've mixed bold and out of the box before. And I'm just saying, I notice that it translates to awnings as well, especially in commercial awnings. And you really can do what you said, like create that instant opinion of, oh, I'm going to this restaurant and it's going to be amazing. Because the awning is so cute. The flower pots outside are amazing. And the little drapes in the windows are so cute. Who knows if the food is good or the service is nice, but I'm going to have a great time.
the promise of it is there, at least in the beginning. And so I want to make sure that the designers listening understand that if you're already decorating or designing the inside of the space, and especially if you're already working on the outside of the space, that awnings just are an extension of your design scope. I think it's actually, I'm reminded of a lot of times what LuAnn, you and I say in terms of window treatments too. It's a great addition to any kind of design scope, right? You have a window, you got to treat it because first of all, don't leave the money on the table. And second of all, because it's in service to the project. Right. Not treating the windows on the outside, on the inside, and not treating the windows on the outside leaves your project in a disservice. Like essentially you're doing a disservice to the client and disservice to the project if you do that. So hopefully with this, we're just increasing that awareness that it's possible. We're increasing the awareness that they don't have to go elsewhere and outsource it, that their window treatment people in a lot of instances can really help them with that. And so just being aware, I think, is the really first step. What do you think, LuAnn?
I agree. And I love the way that you said that it's actually a disservice not to think about adding it as, like our Nancy G calls it, a ladder of services under the umbrella of what you offer your clients, because they do already value your opinion. You've already led them through so much, whether it's inside or outside. And for them to find and meet a stranger, so they can find and meet our company or find and meet your company, but for them, the comfort level is with you as the designer. And so even if I'm new to you, they already are feeling like, okay, this company is reputable. They're calling, my designer is called in Window Works or Vitalia Inc., and I've done my research on them. They're reputable. And even if they think my designer doesn't know them, I know my designer. And it's that the two of us are going to vet this process. The two of us are going to understand what the possibilities are. The two of us are going to decide on the features and benefits that I need. And ultimately, I know from a taste and style selection, I'm going to be in good hands with my designer. So I agree with you. I agree with you.
And interestingly, actually, when I decided to add, what you were just saying reminded me of an experience that I went through not so long ago, when I decided to add awnings into our ladder of services for our interior designers. Of course, as a savvy business person, I had to do some recon work.
Right.
So I Googled awning companies near me. Very simple, right? That's what we usually do if we research something.
Right.
And I would say maybe 5 or 6 companies or so came up, and the whole map came up and the little dots, where they're located. And some of them were very, very close to me. And at first I was a little bit disheartened. I'm like, oh my God, wow, the market is so saturated. What do I have to offer? And why should I do it? But I'm like, okay, Vita, calm down. You're just beginning. You're just starting your research. Okay, call them. So I called them. I think we left. Actually, I had my husband call them.
Yeah.
I think we left maybe like 5 or 6 messages. So LuAnn, no, I'm sorry. No, it was 5 or 6 companies. I checked out their websites. 3 of those websites did not work. They gave you one of those 401 error message type thing.
Yes, 404.
So 3 others worked. one of them was, oh my gosh, I kid you not, I think it was updated maybe in like 2001 or something like that. I mean, it was very, very sad. So clearly right away, I mean, speaking about the promise of potential service, I mean, there was no promise of any kind of potential service. So I don't think we even called them, but we called two others. One of them to this day never called us back. So out of 6 companies seemingly available on the internet, and at first giving me a little bit of a pause, 3 were no longer even in business, or at least they didn't have a website. 1 was completely outdated. 1 never called me back. 1 showed up. To their credit, they showed up the next day at like 7 o'clock at night, and there was very, very hardworking salesperson. And gave us a decent presentation, I would say. It was a decent presentation. Gave us the pricing, kind of educated us on this and the other thing. Ask me how many times he followed up.
Yeah, right.
0.
Zippo, right?
Absolutely. And here's the thing. Not only all of these companies, 5 others weren't available to us. 1 was they never followed up. But think about me as a homeowner in this situation. If I were working with an already established and a good connection through an interior design, and I had that KLT factor with them, the know, like, and trust factor, and for me to bring in another person and get to know them.
That's what I was talking about, right? Yes.
Right. That's my story. Right.
Yes.
And figure if I like them, do I trust them?
Right.
To reestablish that connection with somebody else. I mean, that is a disservice to the client for sure.
And especially because let's not underestimate, this is not, look, 3,500, 4,000, 5,000 is an entry level, but that's like saying, I'm going to buy a Roman shade. Chances are you're going to buy a Roman shade with draperies and rods and trim and everything else. So this is not an inexpensive product. And to not have somebody that you feel like is either fully knowledgeable or all invested and not having that trust factor with, you definitely would transfer it right to your interior designer. There's no question, because the client is going to spend a lot of money on this. And if they already are working with you, or you already accustomed to writing you checks for $20, $30, $40, $50, $100,000, it's just one more thing in the line. And not to say it in a mean way, but the point is, to your point, they already like you.
Right. They already
just
trust
as
you.
soon trust you with every big purchase. It's like they're not going to do their whole kitchen with you, but then they're going to outfit their appliances and do it outside of you. They want to do it all with you, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, people are spending that kind of money on the outside.
Oh,
you know, I don't want, if anyone by any small chance thinking that people are spending big money with designers on the inside, but they're not going to take it outside. I hope nobody's thinking that, because I mean, if you do any kind of decent stone porch outside, that's $20,000-$30,000.
Right.
If you put any kind of decent grill, that's $3,000-$10,000. If you have any kind of an outdoor bar, that's additional money. So, and I'm not even talking about pools and a very elaborate landscaping and whatnot. So very similar, the kind of the longer we have this conversation, LuAnn, it's just so similar to window treatments for me, whereas window treatments are, 10-20% of the overall budget of the interior decorating. And it's what I'm kind of seeing is it could be very similar type of proportion and numbers to the outside as well. And for me, it's not, I don't get scared by it. I get excited by it. The amount of potential revenue and potential business that our designers can recognize in this, and the window treatment specialists who are not carrying the awnings could recognize in this. And even hearing from me, LuAnn, it was hearing you guys at a $3 million business, half of it is window treatments and half is awnings. Like, oh my God, like, wow. And I'm sure you're not selling I shouldn't say I'm sure, but chances are you're not selling awnings in, I don't know, January and February in the Northeast in the dead of winter.
The crazy thing is we do now. That's what's so crazy.
That is pretty crazy.
That is what's crazy.
I'm thinking like majority of that business is probably between like April and October, I'm thinking.
Yes.
And if you can do that much business in 6 months of the year, damn.
Yes. Well, what happens is we do the bulk of the I'll call it recreational awnings, right? For personal use, backyards, and so forth. The largest majority of the seasonal awnings are that. But, when you get into selling awnings, then you're going to find out that the awning vendor that you use as a manufacturer can do vestibules. So, when you have that kind of let's call it a canvas, but a metal frame that's a canvas. It's like almost like a temporary door on the outside of a restaurant. So because you don't walk right into the restaurant because of the cold air and stuff. Yep. We sell those like candy from October to February, like candy. Like the phone just rings and rings and rings. I need a vestibule for my restaurant. I need a vestibule for my restaurant. I need a vestibule for my, whatever. And the other thing is it's the fall and the winter that we are usually working very much on those big projects for the commercial places, that the hotels and the wedding facilities and stuff like that. They've got to be ordered in November, December, so that we have them ready for March and April. They are very complicated. So what began, I should say, back in the 80s, which was a 3, 4, 5 month, you'd try to stretch out the awning sales into October as we got more and more knowledgeable with it, and we're able to do more and more products. We say, how are we selling awnings in January? Well, we are. You know what I'm saying?
That's great.
Yeah,
that's really great.
So that's the thing, and that's the message that we're trying to drive home, is that it is a revenue stream for your interior design firm, and that is the mission of the podcast, to help you make money and to be profitable at it. And so my advice, like I said to Vita, is, Vita is set up to support interior designers, right? So you're an interior designer. You want to go to somebody like me or Vita. This is not like our WTF shows. We're like, well, maybe you'll go to the workroom yourself. Like, you do not want to go to an awning manufacturer yourself. You do not have the skill set. Now, you want to learn it, different story, but I would say you already have a job, and it's pretty complicated, my opinion. Okay. But for Vita is in a perfect position to learn it. And at WindowWorks, we're going to walk her through that, and we'll spend a year holding her hand, and then she's going to fly, and she'll, have her own relationships with the vendors and the manufacturers, and she will do it, because it's critical that you have an install team. I know that a lot of our competitors sub out the installation, just like competitors sub out the installation of window treatments, but subbing out the installation of a window treatment and subbing out the installation of a $35,000 awning are two different animals. So you just don't hire a handyman to put an awning up. You just don't. And so even the most talented homeowners that we meet that are like, I'm a GC, I'm a this, we're like, sorry, hands off the awning. Step away, we will do it for you. And because it's just like anything else, the nuances of the product. But I definitely encourage you to think about your roster of clients that you have now, particularly in this summer of 2020, and if maybe you have indoor projects that are stalled. We're not stalled on the outside, because we can do a contactless appointment. We've had our awning salespeople outside on people's properties on the cell phone with the person standing inside their sliding glass door having the conversation.
That's hysterical.
Yeah. I mean, most people will come out with a mask, but certainly in the beginning of COVID, no. They were doing it through the glass on the telephone. And of course, that's perfectly possible to do. And then a month and a half, 2 months later, my installer crew can show up, and same thing. Call from the backyard. Hi, Mrs. Smith. I'm Carlos. I'm here with my team. Okay, great, Carlos. It'll take me 3 hours. Terrific. I'll call you when we're done. We'll walk it to the backyard. You can come out and look at it. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's why our revenue has popped right back, because we have been relying heavily on this product for this particular time of our crisis.
I just think it's so smart, LuAnn. Really, what you and Vin are doing at WindowWorks, it is so smart. And I'm just putting for a second my kind of business strategic hat on. in any kind of business book or a business anything, we always talk about product diversification, but we also talk about being extremely clear on your target customer. And we're also even on this show, we talk a lot about, or you and the designers talk about niching, right? And having a very specific niche, and the narrower the better. And so sometimes it's confusing, and sometimes there's a dichotomy between, well, how do I diversify without doing it too much, and how do I niche without doing it too narrowly? And what I'm seeing you guys have done at WindowWorks, you are still serving the same customer. You are still serving the same purpose of providing shade at the window. You're just doing it with two different products. And who would have ever thought that we can have contact and we can be inside together? But here we are nonetheless, and you guys are in perfect position to sustain, if not drive and increase your sales, because of your strategy of product diversification. And I just really commend you both. I mean, I think it's incredible.
Thank you. Well, it's like the Nancy G ladder of services. You got to be able to sell more than one thing to the same people, because from a marketing standpoint, Vita, when what is it, the ROI on every dollar spent, how the cost to acquire a new client, a new customer, right? So the number one way to increase your revenue is to sell more things to the same people. It's like they already are your customers. What else can you offer them? And what's so funny is Vin has been on my butt to say, LuAnn, let your designers know. Let them, especially the designers that we work with in WindowWorks, let them know there's money to be made, that we are here to support them in this, and that they don't have to leave this money on the table. More things to the same people. I'm like, I know.
So I'm so glad that I had this revelation. And we're both were like, wow, what a perfect topic for WTF. Not exactly window treatment the way we've always talked about it, but certainly providing functionality and aesthetic at the window, just not on the inside, but on the outside.
Exactly. So I have to say, I would love for you to do your little homework like Vita did, because we find that too, that it might look at first glance that there's multiple places, but really typical awning outlets function more like the parts of our industry that aren't so good at making the phone calls and the callbacks and all of that, right? So I know with WindowWorks, if we make an appointment with you, we tell you 1 to 1:30. And then if we're going to be 15 minutes late, we're going to call you and say we're going to be 15 minutes late, as opposed to, some other parts of our industry that, hey, I'll be there Tuesday, but they didn't exactly say what Tuesday, because you waited all day Tuesday and they didn't show up. And so we do find the same in the awning. Of course, not all of our competitors are like that. There's no question, but it is more prevalent. It does skew more to that kind of construction level of service, which is not the level of service that an interior designer is accustomed to. And of course, the interior design client is not accustomed to that. So it's another reason why that we do succeed in this space, is because we bring the same WindowWorks way to the way we do the awnings, of course, because it is the WindowWorks way. And what's funny is Vita reminded me that if you are interested in a little bit more information on awnings, this is intended for consumers. It's not intended to how you will, as an interior designer, make money, but it will give you some information on awnings. And I want to just give a huge shout out, because this was created by Leslie Carothers and her partner Sam from Savor Partnership. So on our website, if you remember the episode with Leslie Carothers from Savor Partnership, and I'll look it up and put it in the show notes, the number of the episode. It was last summer 2019, her and I discussed how we worked together, and her and Sam created this custom awning buying guide for us. So if you're familiar with Leslie Carothers, she's an awesome leader in our industry and has just got tons of marketing experience, and has combined with Sam, who comes from high-end magazine editorial and graphic design and everything. And they create these guides that, as an interior designer, you can have for your own website. So I'm thinking Leslie Price off the top of my head has a guide, and she was also on the show. I'll put her episode in the show notes as well. But we did one with Leslie, and you can go to my website and you can go to windowworks-nj.com. and go to the Awnings and Exteriors tab, and then you'll see it there, receive this mini magazine, custom awning buying guide, and subscribe and get it. And you'll see, the quality of work that Leslie and Sam do at Saver Partnership. So if you're interested in that for your business, but it'll also just give you some of the basic how-tos that are the things that you would discuss with your potential clients about potentially having an awning for their space. So I encourage you to get that, and also to really just take note of Leslie's fine work there.
And I have to say that I personally have taken advantage of that. I think it was incredibly well done, well put together, beautiful graphics, beautiful design work. So just from the aesthetic standpoint, it was really nicely done. And from the informational standpoint, me not knowing anything about it, that was like my miniature Awnings 101 kind of introduction into awnings, just to understand the different types, the different structures, the different ways, the different investment points, if you will. So it's a wonderful guide for anyone who just wants to get an introduction into awnings.
Yes, I got to give a shout out to Rich and JC, our two awning salespeople. They were the ones that worked on the content for it, and those points that you're talking about. And then, of course, Leslie did the graphics, and then, of course, the branding of all the proprietary window works, logos and colors and brandings. Of course, that's all the work of Nicole Heimer at Curio Electro. So big team effort to put that thing together, and we're very happy and proud of it, and grateful to Leslie and Sam for their direction on it. So I mean, the big thing is, right, just start asking. Just, you're on your next project, take a little peek outside. Would you like to extend your outdoor living space? Would you like to make it a little bit more comfortable for the summer? And then reach out. And I can also just offer you guys this as well. If you are not in my area in New York, New Jersey metro area, or Vita's area, the Philadelphia metro area, and if you're in either of those, then reach out to us and we'll help you with your projects for sure. But if you're not in either of those areas, of course you can do your own research, just like Vita started to do. But I will also say to you, if you reach out to Exciting Windows, excitingwindows.com, I want to say, and in our network of window treatment professionals in Exciting Windows, many of my colleagues across the country also offer awnings. So at least it's a trusted window treatment retailer that you can call on, that's going to treat you with respect, treat you with integrity, and will treat your clients the same way. Because if they don't, you call me and I'll raise some heck. But I don't even need to say that. I'm teasing. Yeah. But that is because it is kind of tough. Where do you go? But at least Exciting Windows, we do have a reliable network of window treatment retailers that you can start to access this information from.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely enough resources out there to support interior designers, but it has to start somewhere. It has to start with your client and with your relationship with your client. And LuAnn, as you were talking about, like the commercial awnings and vestibules and residential, I mean, I have to say, for my part, I'm excited about all of those, but I'm not necessarily going after all of those. We don't have to. We don't have to go after every single type of treatment out there, window treatment inside or out. So I'm trying not to get too overwhelmed on myself. And so for myself, I've decided that for now, it's going to be residential retractable awnings. Now, for the record, if there's an interior designer in Philadelphia who's working on the restaurant and needs an awning, you call me and I will make it happen. I mean, I will not say no.
Right, exactly. Well, because you can lean on us for the time being. That's exactly what we're going to support you in that, and by extension, support your designer on that. We're not going to leave any of you hanging. So we're not going to tell you and offer this to you and then say, sorry. And as you're listening to us too, as we always say with window treatments, and we're going to say the same thing with awnings too, there's no need to get overwhelmed. Yes, there's lots to know, lots of information, but if we all take one step at a time, and even if it's a baby step in the right direction, then it's a baby step in the right direction, and it might as well be a huge step for mankind, design industry, or awnings. So the most important thing is to have that conversation with your client and to do the ask.
right? So just like you're working on the interior. Mrs. Smith, what are you thinking about these windows? How do you feel about adding some panels or valances? What about the sofa? Do you want to have maybe an ottoman that goes next to it? So just like you do the ask on the interior, it's the same type of ask on the interior. Mrs. Smith, I'm wondering, I'm seeing that you don't have any kind of permanent shading here on the outside. Do you have any thoughts about that? No, I have a great resource. How about that?
Right.
So it's a very organic, very natural conversation. It's not about sales necessarily, if it sounds or feels funny, but it's just asking the question, and then after the question is asked, then it's just about education.
Exactly. So, Vita, before we go, we have to tell them the other news in case they haven't heard it yet about you and Kimberly.
I was going to say, no, I am not pregnant, LuAnn, and I know what you're talking about. Yes, in other news, so you know how we've been doing these beloved Window Treatment Friday episodes here on the podcast? Well, interestingly, actually, in the spirit of slight pivoting, slightly expanding our reach and brainstorming marketing ideas, because that's what we do, LuAnn and I came up with this awesome idea of taking Window Treatment Fridays to a live concept. And the way it's getting executed is Kimberly, who is the window treatment specialist for WindowWorks and LuAnn's right hand, and myself, yours truly, we are going live on Facebook and Instagram every Friday at 12 noon Eastern, talking about window treatments. But in addition to talking about window treatments like we do here on these podcast episodes, we are actually offering you some visuals and some pictures and some real life installations done by both WindowWorks and Vitalia Inc., as well as featuring other designers' work too. So, I mean, it's like the best of both worlds. Window treatments, talking about window treatments, and showing window treatments on whichever your favorite platform is, being Facebook Live or Instagram Live. Come join us at 12 o'clock Eastern every Friday.
Right. And where are we doing that? Are we doing that from the WindowWorks Facebook site or your Facebook site?
We're doing it, so on the Facebook site, we're doing it from the WindowWorks site, and it gets right away shared to the Vitalia Inc. site. And on Instagram, it's both WindowWorks and Vitalia Inc. going live at the same time.
So on, I'm going to get the weeds here. So we go live from WindowWorks, and then is it simultaneously live from your thing on Facebook too, or we have to do the whole thing and then we share it to you and then you post it?
We do the whole thing, and then we share it onto Vitalia Inc. site on Facebook.
So if they want to join live from Facebook and be able to ask questions and interact, they have to go to the WindowWorks Facebook site. Okay, we'll put the the address for that in the show notes.
Thank you for that clarification.
Yep. Okay, but on Instagram they can watch either one live simultaneously. So if they're already following your Instagram and not necessarily WindowWorks, they can watch and interact with you on Instagram.
They can ask questions and say hello and tell us how much they've been enjoying our WTFs.
Okay, I love it. I love it. All righty, Vita. Well, I'm so excited for you. I'm so excited to see how your gross revenue grows this year over 2020 and 2021 with Awnings. And then, of course, to see how that translates into net revenue will also be the telltale, but I know that will be good. So thanks so much for joining me today and for talking all about Awnings.
Thank you, LuAnn, for helping me and Vitalia Inc. to start this initiative off the ground, and for being our fallback position, if you will, and really kind of holding our hand and making sure that we get the education and my interior designers here in the Philadelphia area get the best service, and especially the one-stop go-to resource for all things shading things at the window.
That's it. All right, Vita, you have a great day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining me again today. This podcast is a production of WindowWorks, your resource for custom window treatments and awnings. To learn how we can help you on your next interior design project, go to www.windowworks-nj.com. And if you're interested in working with me on your business, either through masterminds or one-on-one coaching, or you want to know how to get my book, The Making of a Well-Designed Business, or you just want to know what's going on in the podcast land and where I'm going to be, all of that is found at LuAnnNigara.com. Thank you so much. Have an excellent day.